Durant the full max because they were concerned about his Achilles injury. You know what that means? I need to bring in the greatest Knicks fan I know, Stephen A. Smith.
Look at him.
Stephen, I'm supposed to ask you if this is something, nothing, or everything. I can tell by your face, it's not nothing.
You know, I can't even put into words my level of disgust, frustration, and beyond. Obviously, weeks ago, we all got, indications. It wasn't just me. It was Ramona, who does a great job. I can't say enough about the job you guys have done just as a show. Brian, Amin, everybody, you guys have been fantastic. But despite the obvious, I was holding out hope that, you know what, Kyrie and KD might not go to Brooklyn after all, that they might come to New York City, that they might bless us with their presence, and we might have a star for the first time in quite a while. I don't want to hear about Patrick Ewing. I don't want to hear about Carmelo Anthony. I don't want to hear about Bernard King. I mean, that's how far back I got to go, y'all. I mean, it's been that bad. I didn't want to hear all about that. I was holding out hope. But then when you put into perspective that you lose out on KD or you lose out on Kyrie, you know what? That's bad enough. But it's not just that. It's KD, it's Kyrie, it's Kawhi, it's Klay Thompson, it's Jimmy Butler. It's everybody, for crying out loud. And then they had the nerve to get on my damn nerves by bringing up Boogie Cousins as if that was going to suffice. And I immediately picked up the phone, y'all, and called the Knicks and said, oh, hell no. He better not, that better not be your consolation. That's exactly what I said to them. I said, this is not a call asking for anything. This is a call telling you, as an organization, that you better not even think about trying to sell Boogie Cousins to us in New York City. Not to knock Boogie Cousins, because when he's healthy, we know he could drop 28 and 12 in his sleep. But he ain't the answer we were looking for in free agency. And I was assured at least that wouldn't happen. But as we sit here today, reflecting on the state of affairs in New York, and Amin said it best, it's bad enough that you don't have Kyrie and you don't have KD. But both of them went 20 minutes away to traffic on Atlantic Avenue, to the Barclays Center instead of Madison Square Garden. And I'm looking at Sean Marks, who's done a fabulous job for the Nets. I'm looking at Kenny Atkinson, who's done a fabulous job. And let's not ignore Live Nation, because Yormak and those brothers, the twin brothers, remember, his twin brother is running Live Nation. Don't think for 1 second they didn't have everything to do with what has been transpiring here with Kyrie and KD going to the Brooklyn Nets. But in the end, you're the New York Knicks, and not only did you lose out, but you lost out to Brooklyn. And then what do? You sit up there and you send Ramona and Woj information. Well, we weren't going to give him the max anyway. How stupid can you be?
Well, that was my question, Stephen A. Do you have a bigger problem with the fact that they didn't? There's so many things I need to ask you. What do you think of the fact that they didn't want to offer him the max when, as the guys here pointed out on set, the team with the most information about his medicals, the Warriors, were willing to offer him that full 5-year max? Well, and also, what do you think about the fact that they made it public that they didn't offer him the max?
Well, first of all, making it public is Bush League. It's emblematic of what we've thought about the New York Knicks. I thought the Steve Mills, Scott Perry era was supposed to be a bit different. This is a James Dolan caliber mistake, but we know James Dolan isn't the one that put this out there. I'm looking at the president of basketball operations, Steve Mills. Why the hell would that statement be publicized? Makes no sense whatsoever. It looks bad. I can't ignore that. But more importantly, I think they're lying, because the fact of the matter is that as recently as a week ago, although they wanted to get the medical report, I went right on First Take, and I reported that the New York Knicks are hesitant to offer the max deal until they get a hold of the medical report. So it's one thing to sit up there and say, we just want to dot our I's, cross our T's, and make sure that his health is fully in place before we make the max offer. It's another thing entirely for literally minutes after losing out on him to Brooklyn. Your position is, well, we didn't want him anyway because we were worried about his health. Excuse me, a career 27-point per game scorer. All of y'all know basketball. This is not a dude whose success is predicated simply on his athleticism. If it were Russell Westbrook or Derrick Rose back in the day or somebody like that, it would be different. But 6'11" with a 7'6" wingspan, who's a sniper, who's a two-time champion, a reigning two-time finals MVP, I'm sorry, you can't rely on that dude to be better than what what you have had when you're the New York Knicks and you've had nothing for years? Please, it's a joke that they would even put that statement out there, and it's really sad.
All right, what do you think about them going forward then? Again, you are my touchdown as a Knicks fan, you and our producer, Steve. So I don't want to make you cry again, but they have just signed Julius Randle for 3 years.
You're trying to, Rachel? I thought you loved me. I thought you all loved me. How could you even what does it look like going forward? Do you know what else? Didn't you see what else Ramona and them put out? Ramona and Woj put out. They're in Los Angeles as we speak. Are they talking to Kawhi? We don't know. Clearly they weren't talking to KD. They're talking to Julius Randle. I respect him. He can play. I think if they get him, he's a plus, not a minus. But when you were thinking and dreaming and fantasizing about Kyrie and KD and all of these boys, and even Kawhi to a lesser degree, even though we know that's a pipe dream, to even quote the name of your organization with Julius Randle, doesn't that need to wait until July 2nd or July 3rd? You have to do that today. Today? I mean, listen, right? They clearly have no love for me or Knicks fans everywhere. They don't love Spike Lee. They don't love Ben Stiller. They don't love anybody. They don't love anybody to do this to us. They don't love anybody.
Let me throw a couple more names at you that Ramona's reporting they're interested in. Bobby Portis and Reggie Bullock.
What? Rachel, what are you doing to me? Could you ask me something about Kawhi? Could you ask me about Jimmy Butler? Could you ask me about ask me about anything other than the Knicks right now? How about that? Anything other than them? Because I'm so done right now. I'm just so done with them right now.
Jimmy Butler is still on the board. And this is a question I do have. And look, I don't know what Jimmy Butler is trying to do. And obviously it seems that Philadelphia was not willing to offer him a max, considering he's wanting to have these sign and trade discussions with Miami. New York could walk in and offer him their version of a 4-year max as a Knicks fan. Do you want them to do that?
No, and I've been told that that's not what they're going to do. They're going to save first-tier max caliber money for first-tier max players. So in that case, they wouldn't do that. They weren't going to do it with Tobias Harris. They're not going to do it with Jimmy Butler. I don't have a problem with that because as much as I love Jimmy Butler in his game, he's not that difference maker in the New York market. That's not the answer to Kyrie and KD. That's emblematic of grabbing Amari Stoudemire, who was injured after you couldn't get LeBron James in 2010. Plus, I hear Jimmy Butler possibly, obviously Houston, Miami, those are options, but assuming Philadelphia is willing to work with them, but possibly the Clippers, he could be joining Kawhi because I know this much about the Clippers. They believe the Lakers have no shot at Kawhi. They believe it's them or the Toronto Raptors, and obviously they're willing to bring another player along with Kawhi Leonard to join a crew that already won 48 games and gave Golden State a run in the first round of the playoffs. So we'll see how that unfolds, but in the end, this is the bottom line. One of the elite free agent classes that we have ever seen in NBA history. The New York Knicks traded Kristaps Porzingis, sold us on the notion that we're going to have a big-time legitimate shot at somebody this coming Sunday, this coming summer. Kristaps Porzingis is gone, and nobody is here in return. I might be in a better mood tomorrow. Or I'm lying. Maybe a week.
Let's not get ourselves,
But I will tell you this. Today, no way. No way.
Well, thank you so much for coming on with us. And in honor of you and the way you have poured out your heart to us about your Knicks, I just want to say.
You know what, Rachel? I'm watching, and I appreciate the invite. But your questions, Rachel, I got to tell you, I love you, but I didn't appreciate these questions. I really didn't. It's cruel. It's cruel.
We'll talk again later. Thank you so much.
All of y'all.
I appreciate it so much, Stephen. And we wish Stephen a speedy recovery, because really that's what it sounds like.
I don't think it's going to be speedy.
I think tomorrow at 10 a.m. is when the recovery is going to really play out.
There you go. And you heard him react. And look, I mean, you grew up in New York.
Yeah.
I don't think patience is what we're going to hear from Knicks fans.
No, I mean, again, you know, before Stephen A came on, I said it's all about the context. If the context was we're building this thing, we're taking our time, we're going to do it right, I think people would be happy that it's another piece added, right? But the problem is they sold the world on stardom on the marquee of Madison Square Garden is going to have a superstar's name on it. And that's not what's happening. And whether they're lying when they said, we weren't going to offer the full max, or if that's the truth, either way, you look bad.
Well, I'll tell you this. I had heard, this is, as a reporter, you have to go through things step by step.
Right.
Okay, so all week I had heard rumblings of this, and you would check in on it, and you would get conflicting information about it. So when you have even as late as yesterday, it was Jim Dolan and the ownership group has a problem with, as Stephen A. said, they were hesitant to offer the full max until they could see the medical. I'm not sure if they ever saw that medical, but I know that Scott Perry, the general manager, got on a plane to Los Angeles today. Mm-hmm. If there was ever going to be a meeting with Kevin Durant, it would happen today.
Right.
But my understanding is there was never a meeting officially even scheduled. It was maybe a conference call if they were going to talk to him. So at some point...
No FaceTime? They didn't even rate FaceTime, Ramona?
They didn't rate FaceTime in 2016 either.
Yeah, right.
And I think if you're not going to offer a full max, there's no reason to even talk. So Scott Perry got on a plane and is in Los Angeles meeting with Julius Randle.
Clearly.
Has agreed to a deal with Julius Randle. They knew a little while ago that they weren't in the discussion if they weren't offering a full max.
Look, I can't see the future. I don't know what's going to happen with Kevin Durant, but I do know this. They signed Amari Stoudemire with a very questionable medical history. It was a disaster. They gave Carmelo Anthony a $130 million extension with a questionable knee. It did not turn out well. They looked at Porzingis and they were...
I'm not sure I'm putting all of that on Carmelo.
We can go back to Joakim Noah in this conversation as well.
Very good point.
Yep.
They look at Porzingis, they were at least partially why they traded him was concerned about his health. They are trying to learn from their mistakes. Doesn't mean that it's a good decision, but they are reacting to mistakes they've made in the past.
Two rebuttals. One, none of those players is the caliber of player that Kevin Durant is. Two, at least...
None of them had an injury as serious as he did.
In the case of Amari Stoudemire, the incumbent team was like, I don't know, because I know I was in that room and we're talking about how are we going to partially guarantee this. In the case of Kevin Durant, none of those other teams can say that. Chicago with Noah or Denver with Carmelo. They offered 5 years, full max. They had all the information. They were okay with it. But somehow now the Knicks
and the Nets are obviously okay with it.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. So much more to come. We're in hour four, people, of this free agency special. We got almost 2 hours to go. Coming up, we'll play a little bit of something, nothing, or everything with JJ Redick. Is it everything, nothing, something that he's now a Pelican? We'll discuss that and more. Hour 4. Whew.